Hi everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Press Enterprise High School Football Video Podcast. I'm Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare, and we have a very special guest this week, Southern Columbia football coach Jim Roth. Jim, I know you have a lot of media requests and it's a unique week with the holidays, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Oh, no problem.
Now first of all, let's talk about last week's game. Big one over South Williamsport, and I know you talked a lot after the game where they had that opening drive, 13 plays where they had some success and got some first downs. And you were asked if you guys as a coaching staff had made any adjustments, and you said it was mostly the players self-correcting. How encouraging is that with a group that's a little young up front to see them make those changes on their own and make that improvement in the first half?
Well, I guess it shows that they are developing, becoming more familiar, more comfortable with their roles, and just advancing as football players. Even though a lot of inexperience as first year players, they pretty much have a season under their belt. So I think that maybe would have been a little more difficult early in the year, but at this point we've worked so hard with the defensive front to try to kind of bring them up to speed and try to get them where they could play at a high level that I think that was just a sign of how that hard work has paid off in the fact that they can make some adjustments on their own, and they can start reacting to certain plays that another team is running that maybe they're having success with in the beginning. And that's always good when a team can do that, because as long as the opposition isn't doing something really different or special, a lot of times that's the most important aspect of making adjustments defensively, is for your players to get a feel and a sense for what they're doing and reacting to that better, and just doing a better job of defending it.
Now, even though this week's opponent, Schuylkill runs a different scheme than what South ran, do you think it's to your players' benefit that they saw a team that runs the ball as much as South did, and now a team that maybe runs even more this week?
Oh, without question, I think that's a plus. With so many teams and programs running the spread schemes today and throwing the ball a lot and just running out of the shotgun and all that, the wide open game is so common anymore that when you get somebody that just lines up and comes right at you out of a lot of two-back sets and so forth, that's not the norm anymore. So sometimes that takes a little more of an adjustment, although it's easier for us to adjust to that than maybe some teams, just because we do a lot of that, so our kids are a little more familiar with it. But just in terms of what they've seen throughout the course of the season, to have a team like South Williamsport before Schuylkill is definitely a plus. Our run fits, as you would refer to, defensive assignments, and just our technique up front against the run, our linebacker reads, all those things that you need to do well to do a good job against a good running team. They had to really focus on those, and we had to work hard at it last week. So it's a carryover, and it's certainly a benefit.
Now, looking at the defensive stats for Schuylkill, they have close to 50 sacks, which indicates that they clearly get some good pressure on the quarterback. Well, what have you seen from them? Are they a blitz-heavy team, or is it just do they have personnel who excel at getting after the quarterback? What do they do defensively that's allowed them to get that kind of pressure?
Well, the odd front in high school football used to be a 5-2, and it still is for some people, if you want to term it that way, where you have 5 true linemen and only 2 linebackers. Most of the higher levels, when they run an odd front, they refer to it as a 3-4. And that's what Schuylkill does. And it is, in their case, a true 3-4, because both of their outside linebackers, the Yoder kid and number 32, I don't recall his name offhand, they're both linebackers. They're linebacker type players. They're not defensive linemen. So they essentially have 4 linebackers on the field. And between those two and the 2 inside linebackers, I'm not sure if I'm saying their name exactly correct, the Callian.
Yeah.
Those 2 brothers are very quick and very aggressive, and the 2 guys off the edge are quick, aggressive players. So they kind of mix and match who's coming out of that group of 4, and they just have good quickness, and they do a good job. Any of those four that are coming on a pass play that are blitzing, they do a good job of not staying blocked. They're quick. They have a good sense of not staying on a blocker real long and keeping their focus on the quarterback and knowing where the quarterback is with the football. And that's that's a critical thing that sometimes is lost in high school football when a blocker does go to engage a linebacker that's blitzing. Sometimes younger kids or high school kids, their first reaction is to run into that blocker, take him on first. They just do a good job of being aware of where the ball is, where the quarterback is, and trying to avoid that blocker and get to him. But just their athleticism and good quickness with the group of four.
Now, what challenge does that present to your line? Because the 3-4 in high school, I know just in covering teams, I haven't seen it a lot. What challenge does that present just in trying to block something a little unusual?
Well, it probably with our scheme and with what we do on pass plays, it's probably going to put a little more pressure on our offensive tackles to do a good job. They're going to be blocking smaller guys off the edge, and they're going to have to stay with them, long enough to give our quarterback time to throw the ball. As far as the inside blitzes, we normally would pick them up either with a guard or a running back, and we're probably that's probably just a little easier fix for us because it's something that we're more familiar with, that we do against most defenses. But the tackle on that outside linebacker is a little bit different because we don't see a lot of 3-4 fronts with true outside linebackers. So that would be our biggest concern, and hopefully our tackles are up to the challenge. They're both first-year starters, but they've done a nice job all year, and they're both pretty athletic kids for bigger players, and hopefully they can do a nice job on those outside backers when they do come on pass.
Now, I wanted to take the opportunity to, you have so many freshmen contributing on this team, and a lot's been written about Gage, Garcia, and Julian Fleming. But Cal Halliday, freshman linebacker, leading tackler, he's got about 120 tackles, great game against South. I think he had 18 tackles or 17 tackles. What did you identify in Cal early on that you said this is a kid who can step in at a very important position on the defense and at least contribute right away?
Well, a couple things. First of all, watching him play in junior high, he was all over the field and he was a hitter. I mean, he's one of those guys that, he's not real heavy right now. He's still young, obviously. He's lean, has some good height. Not a real heavy. Doesn't have a lot of weight, but packs a punch when he hits. So he's physical when he does tackle. But again, just seeing him all over the field, just a lot of ability to read and get to the ball. The only thing you don't know is, okay, well, how well is that going to translate to the varsity level? How quick is he going to be able to kind of play at that same level against varsity competition that you would see him doing at the junior high level? He, along with a number of other players as freshmen, came up and just played at a high level right away, which speaks to their mentality as athletes. They're just aggressive kids. They're not, taken back by the higher level of competition, and they just, came up, stepped out there the first day and embraced it and played at a high level right from the beginning. So the way he played in junior high and the way he was able to come up and just show some real good ability in the off season before we started regular practice, that gave us a level of confidence. And then, the physicality, because an inside linebacker is a physical position. When you look at him, he wouldn't maybe appear as a real physical kind of kid just because he's tall and lean, a lot like his father was at his age. But he's a wrestler. He is a guy that spent a lot of time in the weight room. He's a type of physical. He has a type of physical physique that you would look at him and think, well, he's not real strong, but he's a lot stronger than he looks. So, he had good strength and a good ability to be a physical player, and that was the other part of being able to adapt and step in and play at the varsity level right away. And again, like some of the other freshmen, he's exceeded the expectations. that we had coming into the season, and he's just been able to play at a high level in varsity, and he's looked like he's belonged since day one, even though he was a freshman.
Now, I think that's going to do it for the podcast, but I was going to close out with a bit of a personal request here. You guys have been to Hershey to play for state finals 7 times since I've been at the Press Enterprise. I've been there to cover 6 of them, and you've won all 6. I wasn't there in 2011. At what point do I get a championship ring?
Well, they're pretty expensive. We'll have to talk to the boosters about that.
All right. Well, if you win it this year.
Yeah, if you're there and we win it this year, that might be another plus to making that happen.
All right, I'm going to keep you to that. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's podcast. But if you liked what you saw, please go to pressenterpriseonline.com to check out all the football content that we provide. I will also be covering this week's Southern Columbia game against Schuylkill Haven on Saturday at Schuylkill High School. So please follow me on Twitter. I am at Tim Hare 87. So I think that's going to do it. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I'd like to thank Southern Columbia coach Jim Roth once again for joining me. But we'll see you next week.